Okay.
Oh no, wrong one. Oh, they mute.
Nope. Oh, is that the wrong one? Oh, the countdown. Nope. That's the wrong one. Nope. 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 Oh.
The mail room, I be tuned in. Listening to Tashon, she be going in. Y'all. Black queen for us black kings. We can learn a thing or two when we're locked in. One of the few places we can be heard. Man, I rocks with her, that's my word. The show is enlightening, engagement always enticing. I always come with an open mind, I'm never frightened. Guaranteed to walk away with minerals. Now that I'm thinking everything else is minuscule. We're the fools who don't protect black women. No arguing, disrespect, and that's it. Please come in peace when you call in, cause our friends ain't no slouch, fair warning. The mail room, messages from him. Y'all better listen if you want to win. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in.
Oh, beautiful people. How y'all doing?
How you doing? Good morning,
Well,
everybody.
doing well. Good morning. Wait a minute, what's going on?
Where you at, girl? There you go.
Y'all know I'm still getting used to all of these new formats that we have on the StreamYard, as they say, on the StreamYard. What's going on, beautiful people? Listen, before we get started, TMR is sponsored by Swag Her Magazine and TLC Coaching Services and hosted on 101 TKO Radio podcast. So listen up, good people. We're back for season 6 in podcast form. We are now coming to you on all major podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Google, and 101 TKO Radio podcast. Oh, wait a minute, and iHeart. Duh.
Come on now. That's right.
Listen, subscribe to our YouTube, the Mailroom 7671, and download that 101 TKO Radio app to listen to all of the episodes. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Y'all. Right. So I'm so super dope. I got my friends in the building today. Yeah. DJ Johnny Prince.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
I got Earnest James. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. I have special guest Calida Jevon. How you doing?
Oh, she delayed a little bit. Uh-oh.
Okay,
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
About a 30-second delay, girl.
Our guest co-host Evelyn, Whitney. How you doing?
Doing well. Happy to be with you all this morning.
Awesome. Listen, we are today we're going to talk extend the episode from last week, the power of forgiveness. So we're going to extend that today, and we have our two special guests, Calida and Earnest, to talk about an event that is very important to them, that is about forgiveness, and discuss forgiveness in our relationship. And we also know it is Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah.
I got teams playing.
None of our teams playing.
I don't even know who's playing. I haven't even been following.
Yeah. San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah.
I just heard somebody last week like, "Oh yeah, Super Bowl." I'm like, "Dang, already?" I don't think I was watching one game this season.
I
haven't either. I ain't gonna lie. Even though I'm not a football fanatic, I still my Raiders were out, So, but they did pretty well. So
the Raiders still playing? Wow, I didn't know that.
You know what? You got jokes. Yes, Raiders. They got first of all, they got a new black head coach. They got a black coaching staff.
Talk it.
So listen.
Black History Month.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just at the Super Bowl. I'm watching it because y'all know my baby. It's halftime. My baby. They do halftime. That's all I Usher. Y'all know.
Usher, baby.
Usher. Yes. So
as soon as Usher turn off, everybody turn it off. That's it. As soon as he go off stage,
I thought about that too.
Makes no sense after that.
I thought absolutely thought about that too.
It makes no sense. I'm just gonna be sitting waiting for Usher. That's it. Waiting for him to take off his shirt and all. So
y'all crazy for
you
this.
know, Usher don't leave on those shirts now. He'll leave it on for about 5 minutes. After that, it's coming off. Usher, you know, all the old ladies gonna be in the audience.
Yeah, I bet.
All of us, Gen X and baby boomers, gonna
Right.
be all up in there.
And he the same age as most of y'all kids. They're like,
Exactly
Right,
right.
right.
Mama, what you doing?
Mama, what in the?
I tell y'all all the time now, you know, the chef, I already told chef,
Put your
you
tongue
move
back
on
in
over
your
now.
mouth, Mama.
Listen, Usher. Shoot. So listen, it's gonna be an eventful weekend and so forth. But listen, we're gonna we got a dynamic show, and I want to go ahead and get into it because I know you and Calida have to get ready for it and so forth. So welcome again. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you are subscribed. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
So Calida, introduce to us who you are and what you do and this forgiveness mission. Oh my goodness. I love forgiveness. People don't understand it. It's something that I've embraced over the years from my own experiences. And when I tell people the power of forgiveness is it's a beautiful thing, but it's not always easy and so forth. But let us know who you are and what you're doing.
So I am Calida Jevon. Also, some may know me by my Calida Jevon is my government name, but also may know me by Kalina Barnes. And who I am a visionary. I am someone who is a multi-entrepreneur, have several things going on. I do have something called Ladies Thriving Together, which is a ladies group that meets weekly. I do have Forgiveness Mission, which is my passion and what I'm up to in life, as well as I am a licensed insurance broker. So I do that. And then I have my government job. So I do work with the VA and work in suicide prevention. And so how we first got started in regards to the idea of even having a forgiveness workshop to begin with was because of my work that I do with the VA and seeing an increase in suicides in our catchment area. I live in the Chicagoland region, and there was an increase of suicides back in 2018 that affected me, and especially seeing that happened before the holiday season. So normally there's a natural increase during the holidays, but this was all happening before it. And so it was a little alarming. And, how my mind works is that when I'm affected by something or if I see a problem, my mind will think about what can go here. So sometimes those ideas might come in a form of an invention or a business idea or something of the sort. That's just how I have been made. And so what happened was, that's really what happened is I thought about the things that we carry. There's so many various things that we carry and we never know who may be carrying what. And so I have often said that suicides, we don't have a face to what does that look like for, we're always shocked when someone, dies via suicide. We're like, well, what happened? Or, I would have never thought and things of that nature. And so it doesn't have a face and it does affect us all. So whether we have had suicidal ideation ourselves or have known someone who is struggling with suicidal ideation or someone who has died via suicide, pretty much all of us have been affected in some type of way. And so, yes, it was something that affected me. I thought about the idea. I really feel to the core of me is that forgiveness is the answer. That it solves many problems across the board. Whether various wars that we have to the things that happen in our personal life to issues that we carry from our childhood, or things that may have happened to us, or things that we have maybe even did that we have to forgive ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I had an idea for a forgiveness workshop. I held it at a library in Chicago. The very first one was so the fall of 2018. It was held at a library, and we had a pretty good turnout. And I was just taken back by the response of people inquiring when we were going to have another one, to the library asking when we were going to come back, and I was just like,
Mm.
I did what was laid on my heart. I thought, like, okay, I was done with that,
Yeah.
and and so it wasn't the something that was done with me, it appeared. And so wrestled with that a little bit, and decided
Yeah.
to finally step into it and have another one. But we had a whole pandemic. And so that being the case, we decided to, instead of having it, in person, was to have it virtually. So we had it via Zoom, and we have been virtual ever since. And
Wow.
so we made the commitment to do them quarterly, and now we've progressed to having them bi-monthly. So that's what we do. So we've had some transitions within the workshop. Originally, we had a speaker that spoke during the workshop, and taught about certain things regarding forgiveness, and then we would have a panel discussion. We have since shifted to have various conversations regarding forgiveness, and we do start with self. So we, just the same way in an airplane, they'll tell you, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can help someone else, before you can help your child or whomever. So that's the same thought process. So we do have you, look at yourself. What areas are you, things that you're carrying regarding yourself? And so so we do talk about forgiveness of self first and foremost. Then we go into also another self component is forgiveness and wellness. So just the same way I mentioned earlier about the things that we carry. We know
Yeah.
statistics, we know stress kills, we know the times when the most heart attacks happen are normally on a Monday morning. We have certain statistics that we can look at and say, yeah, we know how stress or various things that we carry can impact our health. And we, sometimes don't talk about that enough, and even realize how much it's affecting you and the things that you may be harboring. And so we do look at forgiveness and wellness next. And then we go into forgiveness of others. And so last year we separated the others conversation, because the forgiveness of others is more personal. How I see it, is more of a, maybe your parents, your siblings, your co-workers, friends, or people that you could put a face and a name to, even, or that maybe this person did this, or various things like that. That is the others conversation that we're referring to. And then last but not least, we have forgiving the world. And so forgiving the world is a broader perspective regarding forgiveness. And so it's looking at the other things that we can't put a face and a name to, where there's laws that get passed that affect us, now affect our bodies, our communities, to racism or other injustices that happen. There's so many things in the forgiving the world part that we often even overlook, because we might talk about something, or you can relate to something, and it has effects on you in some way. Can you even walk down your block in your neighborhood and not even realizing that it's affecting you, or affecting your ability to trust, or affecting certain, even when you have something that you're carrying in one area, it has a ripple effect in many other areas in your life. And so you're like, whether it's even as simple as starting a business. It's like, oh yeah, I wanted to do this, but because of what you may be carrying and the things that you may be carrying, you're having struggles in another area. So, so that is what we do. We do have the forgiveness workshops bi-monthly, and we do cover those 4 areas of forgiveness within our workshops.
Wow. I love that because it seems like that is not just a forgiveness workshop. It's not just another workshop. It has a curriculum, and it has meaningful components. And I love that the fact that you're touching on each part of the whole self. So it's like, the wraparound services for the entire self. PR Erica Smith says, being totally honest, forgiveness of self has always been most difficult for her, and I can attest it's probably harsh on a lot of people to forgive self. What is my question to you? What is the biggest hurdle when you're doing your workshops, and when you're creating and you're listening and talking to people? What is the biggest hurdle that you've experienced doing these workshops?
Well, I mean, the biggest hurdle has been, I would say I want to see people. I did not want this to be necessarily just a lecture. I do want it to be interactive. I do, want to hear from people, and yet at the same time, it's voluntary.
Yeah.
This isn't a big therapy session, and so it is, so some people do decide to share, and they open up and will, can talk about certain things or what might be, what they may be dealing with. We do definitely have FAQs at the end that they can address certain things to more specific to them. So I would say sometimes it really depends on the group. Sometimes we have some that share a lot, and you kind of just hate to cut it off. Like when it comes time to end, and it's like, okay, well, we want you to make sure you have those tools for your next steps or what's next for you. Maybe that difficult conversation you might need to have, or what have you. So I would say that dancing within that space is the biggest hurdle of, we have an agenda, we have different things we got to, cover, and yet wanting to make sure that we are delivering on it and being timely as well.
Yeah.
One thing though, Tashon, that I'm glad about is that it's a living organism, right? And so every time we do it, we gain something else to carry on. So the whole section of talking about excuse me, forgiveness of self came from a comment during one of the lectures, not lectures, but one of the workshops that we were having, and someone asked a question, and the whole self analogy, and that's how I know God is at work. So in that moment, just from that question came the whole acronym for self, and that whole idea that actually is a full section of the forgiveness mission came from a question that was asked in the midst of the workshop. So every time we do it, we have new people with new ideas and new situations, and it just continues to grow.
Wow.
And piggybacking off of that, okay. I'm sorry.
I have a question. Is there an age range that you serve more predominantly? I mean, if there's a 14-year-old who wants to come to the workshop, is that okay? Or do they need parental consent? Or what's the age range of the people who are looking for your services?
So currently it's more so middle age to, possibly let's say 60, 65 or so, I would say, to give or take 30 to 60, let's say, possibly between that range, that the most people in regards to showing up. But we have had teenagers show up previously. We have had people, international. We are international now, where we have had people from the UK, Canada. I believe we had someone from Morocco and Australia at one point. So have had various people from various places, and so we have also have had teenagers at times. We have not had youth per se, but the conversation regarding forgiveness is literally for all. I feel like the way we are having the conversation isn't something that they can't grasp, being younger. So it's possible for someone younger to be in the space as well. One of my goals is to actually create a curriculum for youth and to, get it into schools. That's a goal of mine. So if you're on the line and you, would love to help out with forgiveness mission at any capacity, I definitely would love, collaboration and things of that nature as well. So, the vision is large and we have much. That's why it's called Forgiveness Mission for a reason, because this is truly the mission, and to definitely spread, internationally. Is not just even a USA thing. So I definitely welcome connections with others and collaboration. So. But what I was about to say, as far as piggybacking on what Ernest was saying, is yes, there are sometimes things that come up within our workshops that we like, you know what? Oh my goodness, that is something we definitely have to have or add in there next time, And so our workshops are, I would say they're different. We have the same structure and we have the same, but because of who may be there, because of what things may come up, there, so even if you've attended one in the past, I would say come back again, especially since we've made upgrades and changes and things of that nature. Come back again and again, because you'll be at a different place next time go around, so in 6 months down the line, you'll be in another place and you could probably see something or receive something a little differently. So definitely would say to come back. Another thing that I will mention is Ernest had mentioned forgiveness of self coming up in one of our conversations. Well, one of our last workshops, something regarding forgiving God was something that came up, and that is a huge something that even during the sharing and another person that shared that was, and I do want to say forgiveness mission is even though I am a proud Christian myself, just FYI, I am that is who I am, yet forgiveness mission was created for all. I specifically had the opportunity to host it at a church or had connections that I could have had religious ties, and I specifically chose not to. Because I do know and understand that there are some that have church hurt and have various different things that connected in any type of way, they wouldn't have even attended. So, and then you have, within the church community where you have, okay, well, this was given by Lutheran, but then we're Kojic, but then, or these are this, and they may not attend the same conference even, or different things. And it's like, we're all the same body, we're all so we all come together. So those have been some of my views. And so specifically, I have had this with not a moral basis. So it is that forgiveness different, Lee, where it is for all, and it's a conversation that we can have. So stating that, and in fact, going back to what I was originally mentioning, how it naturally came up in one of our workshops, one of our last workshops, it naturally came up. And so it was someone that happened to have been on there that grew up as an atheist. And she happened to mention, how even that conversation and what had came up at the particular time, how she didn't know that it was something that she was holding or something that she had, that there was a space for her to even look at regarding, forgiveness of God, and so so that was definitely like, okay, wow, that naturally came up in one of our workshops. And so, okay, well, how do we have that? Made a couple of changes regarding how do we have that conversation? Because I know that there's a number of people in that same category, that may have a space there. And so, how do we have that, continue for our next workshop? And so, that is what what that's how our workshops have grown is an example of how things have grown and have shifted because of audience even and participation in yes, it has shifted. And so I'm definitely excited about our workshop for today because yes, we've made a couple more changes and
Okay.
and so yes, we are definitely in for a treat in being able to talk about some things and share with others. And so I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. Listen, I know that you have to run so that you can get ready for your workshop. This is it sounds amazing. And you have TMR support because I am again, I being a Christian myself, there is a process of this forgiveness. And it's amazing when you tell people you have to forgive and then all the questions, and I get it, people do have the questions, or why should this and another. And I just always tell them there is a power in forgiveness, and I've experienced that power. So you are needed, and this mission is needed because I really truly believe that if we can just hear people out, if we can, have these solutions, and the world will be somewhat a much better place, and we can move forward in a lot of our endeavors. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
Thank you.
We wish
Thank you.
you the best today.
Absolutely.
And again, if you need our support, we're here to support you. TMR, Ernest to tell you, just
No
reach
doubt.
out to me because TMR is all about solutions. We're
Mm-hmm.
not just a podcast who's just going to keep things going. We're about
Yeah.
bridging that communication gap in our relationships, and
Mm-hmm.
we're about connecting with other like-minded people in our communities because we have to start in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you need us to do, reach out with Ernest and just contact us. But we thank you, we send you blessings, and have a
Definitely.
wonderful, wonderful event today.
Definitely. For real.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys
Bye.
have a blessed day.
You too.
You
Take care.
too.
That was dope.
That
Yes.
was. Listen,
I
we're gonna
re-
take a quick commercial break. We got some commercials, y'all. Business shout out.
That's right.
We're gonna take a quick look at 30 seconds. Hold on, y'all. I'm so super dope. My team, oh
Yeah,
shoot.
we nice. We nice.
Look, okay,
Girl.
y'all know I'm like that's why I gotta get me a sister. Y'all pray to God bring me a sister because I'm trying to navigate between all this stuff. But hold on, y'all. Hold on. Here we
Okay.
go, y'all.
Okay. Here we
Praise,
go.
because hold on.
Here we go. Tatiana, a knotless technician. Visit her IG at Hair by Tatiana. DJ Johnny Prince, DJ and podcaster. Follow his IG at Be Clear Alert Podcast. Evelyn Whitney, author. Please visit www.evelynwhitney.com. Earnest James, motivational speaker. Please visit www.ebooksbyejames.com. That was dope.
That was dope.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool.
More.
Come
I
on
got my
now.
timer on because we gotta try to
Come on.
make this time thing.
We're
So I
talking
got my timer. We got the others.
Yeah.
If you would like your business shouted out, you guys connect with TMR, DM me or email me at YGM7671. Invest in your business. Yes, we are all small business owners. So we have to take some steps in investing. So what better way to invest in is with a shout out, business
That's
shout
right.
out,
That's right.
a
That's right.
major platform on major platforms. So thank you all. And our very own Mr. LaRon Takeover and so forth for that.
That's right.
Oh, we were kicking down
Baby.
the door, baby. We ain't coming in here. Yes, Erica, yep, that voice, DJ.
That's me, baby. The one and only, baby.
The one and only. So thank y'all so much for investing in your business and
No
with
doubt.
TMR. So we appreciate you. So listen, let's continue this discussion on our forgiveness. And Ernest, you are a part of the mission, correct?
Yes.
So tell us your part. How did you become involved with it?
So me and Calida actually met about a year, maybe it's probably 2 years at this point, about 2 years ago, and became friends. And in the midst of the conversation, she mentioned that was something that she was doing with the forgiveness workshop. And then still at this time, it was doing the hiatus of it. She had did the first one, but then she hadn't did it again, and she was mentioning to me about it had really been on her to start it back up, to do it again. But now at this point, we're in the pandemic. So it's like, okay, it would have to be virtual. And so when she mentioned it to me, me being the person I am, I'm a person that loves people. And I'm like, all right, well, what you need me to do? How can I be a part of it? And so she asked like, okay, well, you want to be one of the presenters? I'm like, cool. And so I started the whole, the beginning of it, as far as like, what is forgiveness? So that's kind of how I started, with just a presentation of what is forgiveness and who is it for, and recognizing that it's not, necessarily for the person that you are forgiving, but it's for yourself, to relieve yourself of the burdens that you're carrying. And so that's kind of how I started in my role, and just being a part of it. And we did the first one, and it went so well. Afterwards, that's when we started having the conversation, like, okay, we need to do it again. And it just came to the point, like, all right, now we need to do it every quarter. So last year we did every quarter. And so this year will be the first year we're actually doing it bi-monthly. So which actually only actually makes it one extra one. So instead of 4 is 5, so this is going to be new, just to see how it grows now that we're doing it more often. But that's how I got involved in it. It just was a conversation, and I was just like, I believe in the mission, and so here I am. I'm like, whatever I need to do to be a part of it, where I fit in at, and that's how I got into it with it.
Yeah. Is it before we move on, is it still time? Do they have time to register for it? Or
yes, you have time to register all the way up until we start.
What is the link? I'm gonna put it right here. What's the link? Put it in the chat for me, and I can post it.
It's in the chat already.
I think it's in there already. Yeah, I think it's a little early. Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Let me copy and post it out here.
And while that's being posted, I would just like to illuminate the idea that you point to, that forgiveness isn't just for Christians. There are people who feel like, because forgiveness seems to have its anchor in a religious space, that if they don't also circulate within that religious space, that it's not for them. But it actually is. And I think that's a fantastic point for people to understand. You don't have to have been in the church for 25 years. You don't have to have had certain experiences. You don't have to have had anything connected to church in order to benefit from the power of forgiveness. And that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
And I think that it needs.
Oh, go ahead, Ernest. I'm sorry.
I think that it needs to be mentioned too, because I've seen it in the chat. I think we had a comment about, people having church hurt, and, separating the church forgiveness from the church, But I think it's important for us to remember that the church is a living organism, but it's made of people, right? We say the church is like, we make it like something else that is not. Like it's a gathering of people, right? So as people, we need forgiveness. As people, we hurt each other, right? So that's how we have church hurt. As people, we act in certain ways, or we do certain things to each other that causes hurt, right? But you can't look at it. Anytime we look at any problem and say it's the church, as if the church is something that is not, like it's its own monster, we take the humanity away from it. And if we take the humanity away from it, we can't change it. So we have to realize, yes, it's a building, it's an organization, but it's made up of people, right? So when we deal with the people, we can change the environment.
Always, like I said, when people come to me and that's the first thing that come out. Well, I've been hurt by the church. I said, well, you've been hurt by your ex-boo too, but you still ran back to him.
Mm-hmm.
You were hurt by the club. They ain't let you in, but you still run back to it. You know what I'm saying?
Talk it.
Like that's the constant excuse. And I'm not here to convince anybody to go to church or whatnot. But what I do tell people, for me, the word of God speaks of it, and that it was the catalyst for me forgiving, because it's like, yeah, I've been church hurt. I've been church hurt by the people in the church, and it wasn't everybody. It was probably one or two individuals that hurt me. And then God had to remove me from that particular building and move on to I've been blessed to have great ministers to lead me. You know what I'm saying? But I've had a few people in certain churches or denominations that hurt me. So once I got past that back, before, when I was using that excuse too, and I said, well, you know what? Ray hurt my feelings big time, but I ran right back to his arms.
Right.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The problem.
And then I say this: I'm a PK, right? Which means a pastor's kid or a preacher's kid, however you want to look at it. I have church hurt.
Oh yeah,
I have church hurt, and the people that was over it was my family. Right. Yeah. The pastors and ministers that may have said or done things that I felt some kind of way about is not only the church, but it's my family too. Right. But you can't run away from it. Again, you got to deal with the person. So we can't look at the church. If we do that, then like you were mentioning, why don't we do it with every other building or organization? Like you said, somebody got shot at the club last week, but they was open this week. You know what I'm saying? So are we not?
I can tell you. I can tell you
not
exactly.
saying, "Oh, the club hurt my feelings." No, we
still
right.
Oh, the club hurt my feelings.
Yeah,
the issue. I think the issue with church is that it used to advertise that it's the safest place for anybody and everybody, the safest place for everybody and anybody. So when we go to the club, we expect it to get, we know what to expect, right? When we go to Pookie or whatever, or we know what to expect. We just choose to do that. We choose for some reason, whatever, the trauma, whatever that makes us choose that. But when we go to the church, we don't expect to get hurt because it's advertised as the safest haven ever. So when we go to church and when we get hurt, it's oh my God, it's a surprise because I'm expecting to be to have some sort of healing, to start this journey to God. I'm the most vulnerable I've ever been, but then I get abused and hurt there. So that's why it hits different. You know what I'm saying? It hits different when you're hurt by the church, because it's not just that church, it's churches all over it's churches all over. It's, you know what I mean? So that's what's hurting the religion, is that these people are getting hurt in the church.
So let me say this. When we generalize, and I don't want this to be the whole religion thing, but when we generalize churches and say all churches, that's the problem I have. Because it's like, so you visited every church in the nation, every church, you visited every church, and I'm not saying just you. I'm saying
all women.
So we generalize one hurt. We were hurt by one thing, and then we generalize all pastors, all churches, and all people, right? So then we make that excuse. Oh, I ain't forgiving nobody because whatever. And then so what happens is, and then you mentioned that we advertise as a safe space.
Well, it used to.
It is a safe haven. But what happens, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ernest, as a PK, what happens is we are expecting the church and the ministers to be magicians, and we don't want to do our work. We don't want to follow the word of God. So when we get into the churches, right, We'll feel like, oh well, now my life is all over.
I'm about to be filled with the Holy Ghost. Everything is good now.
Right. I'm gonna be rich
I'm about to start speaking it.
But God didn't say that. He says in his word that you're gonna, as a Christian, you're gonna go through long suffering and whatnot. It's a journey. But what happens is many of us who come into Christ and who comes into the word and all of that, you do look, and in the beginning, you're looking for that magical moment. I gave my life to Jesus. I'm going to church, and hallelujah, praise God. Everything is going to be forgiven, and nobody expects a journey. You see what I'm saying? Because you skip over the Bible, first of all, because everybody has their idea. Well, the Bible was written by this man. So we come up with all of these excuses and all of these reasons not to follow. When you think about other faiths and cultures, they are disciplined in their faith. They're disciplined in their Bible, their Quran, or whatever they believe, right? And they follow it. Granted, there are interpretations of the Bible, whatnot, but when you get into a good Bible-based ministry, because as Ernest said, we are the church. But when you get into a good Bible-based ministry, you're going to be able to follow that word, and you're going to be able to move forward with your forgiveness. And forgiveness is part of that journey that we have to deal with. So I think it's the advertisement comes from people that's been hurt, and they want to spread the false word out there. Because like I said, I've been church hurt, and Ernest, you've been church hurt. But when I tell you, when God removed me from that particular church and blessed me with some awesome pastors, the forgiveness of church hurt. Okay, yeah, it happened and been done. Now I know there are different levels of church hurt. You do have people that have been abused, molested, sexually abused by those ministers, those so-called ministers. And yes, that is a different level that you have to get to. I haven't experienced that. So I can't tell people, I tell them I don't know how to relate to that, but I do know that all pastors are not that. All pastors are not trying to get rich. All pastors are not driving Cadillacs. I know some of the most humble, meek pastors. They're just different levels. I just always encourage people to get to know, build that relationship with him. And yes, I know we're on this whole, well, I don't need this and that. You do need to be surrounded by God's people, his like-minded people, but there's a relationship that you have to have from whomever you put your trust in. If it's Buddha, you're going to have a relationship with Buddha. You know what I'm saying? If you talk to Buddha, what's the Mormon, what's the guys that are silent? What are they called? Monks.
Yeah,
they have a relationship with that
they're
leader.
divine, right?
You know what I'm saying? So I believe that has been a ongoing topic of discussion, especially in these days and times that we're living in.
I want to say something to that. Even going back to what Johnny was saying, that the advertisement is that it's a safe space for everybody, and that is the advertisement, and it's still true. But the part that we want to forget is that we are to everybody, right? So when I'm coming with my issues and you coming with your issues, and then we all come to the same space, so we got a space full of issues, right? So that's everybody's issue. So if all of us that are there have issues that we need to be healed from, that we need to be saved from, mindsets that need to be changed, you're going to get some hurt in the midst of that. And that's not just with the church, that's with any organization. How many times you started a new job and when you got there, you already knew the person that you didn't like, right? Okay. And then when you talk about leadership, how many people you had a job and you didn't like your boss, but you still kept going. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said it's just removing the stigma of the place and forgetting that we're all people, even the leadership, even like myself, the PKs who the leadership was my family. And then even when I was serving as an executive pastor, I'm not even gonna say that I got it right all the time, because I'm still human too. At the end of the day, we're all coming together as humans to have an experience to uplift one another. And sometimes let's just say if if Johnny's off today, you know what I'm saying, and he comes and he got attitude, he might not be in the mood to uplift somebody else. And so now you sit next to Johnny, and so now you getting church hurt from Johnny because he's dealing with something. But does that mean you stop coming to church, you know, or coming to the building or the organization? And that's why I think that's probably why God put it on me, just with the forgiveness of self. Because that's my first thing with anything that I deal with. I always say, whether it's relationships, whatever you're going through, always start with self. What can I do different? You know what I'm saying? How can I express myself differently or carry myself differently to change the atmosphere that I'm in or whatever situation that I'm in? So even in the church, whether you're in leadership, whether you're just in membership or whatever organization or wherever place that you're a part of, what can I do different? If I walk into this space, if I come on the mail room and I say, man, I don't like what's being said, what's going on, what can I do to change the narrative? How can I just start a conversation or present the conversation or the thought differently where it can be received differently so it starts to change the atmosphere of what I want to see, you know? But we can only do that when we take accountability of ourselves, even with the church hurt. Let me look at myself with the church hurt and say, what part of what they said is true? Because there's some truth in every lie. You know what I'm saying? What part of that is true? Right. So now let me address the parts that's true. And then maybe that will automatically weave out the part that's not true, you know? And so, but it takes self-accountability.
Danny says, also her comment is not about church hurt. It's about people who think people in the church are weak and docile for always turning the other cheek. Yeah. When I read your comment earlier, that's what, people do think that you're weak when you say, I forgive them, or they think you're passive, and they're like, well, why would you forgive them? And this, and I'm like, listen, I'm forgiven because I know it is something that I have to do, not just as a Christian, but as a human being, because the power that, as I talked about last week, the power that you give to somebody when you don't forgive them, it is strong. And so that is no way when people do think that, if you forget, I've had people say, oh, you forgive so easily. No, it's a process now that I've grown and matured, that now I can look at some stuff and I say, you know what? You ain't even worth losing sleep over, or this, that, and the other. It's just different offenses. But I just know that that's part of the journey that I have to take, the forgiveness journey. It has to be in there.
And that's why I think the conversation is so needed when we're even doing the forgiveness mission. And that's why we start with what forgiveness is, because I think people have a misunderstanding of it. And just because you forgive don't mean you forget. And just because you forgive doesn't mean you allow the same thing to happen over and over again. You just want to make sure that you're not carrying it. So you forgive to relieve yourself of the burden of carrying that with you for the rest of your life. It has nothing to do with the other person or being weak or anything, because it actually takes more strength to forgive than it takes to hold on to something. We all can just hold on to something, stop caring, stop talking to somebody for something they did 10 years ago. How many times you met that person? They still met y'all been divorced 10 years. You done got remarried and everything, but still you holding something against this person. Like, okay, so how's that helping you? How is that benefiting you? And again, if we start getting into the conversation about carrying unforgiveness and how it affects your body, what health issues and things are you carrying because you haven't forgave this person from 10 years ago? So I think the conversation is much needed because people don't really understand what forgiveness is and what it means to forgive.
Yeah.
I have one of the things that people have also shared regarding going back to places where they've been hurt. They go to work and their boss is toxic, but they keep going to work. They go back to that ex for, whatever reason, even though that ex is toxic, they keep going back. And then you also have church as an example of someplace that they don't want to go back to after they experience that hurt. One of the reasons for the difference between those things is what that individual person gets out of what they're going back for. You go back to work with a toxic boss and you forgive them because you know that paycheck is coming. That has value to them, so they go back for it. You go back to that toxic ex because they feel something in you that you haven't figured out how to healthily meet some way else. So they always go back for whatever they're getting out of what that thing is. Church doesn't always offer that. Church doesn't always give people whatever they're going there to get from it. They don't always go there and get safety. They don't always go there and get community. They get judgment. They don't always go there to get whatever they go there to get. It's not what they receive from the people who are there. So that is kind of a difference in why they go back to certain things that have hurt them, and they won't go back to church after church hurts them.
Hold that thought, Evelyn. Hold that thought. We got to take a quick mini break. Hold that thought.
Okay.
Melanie Prince, owner of Prince Property Solutions, LLC. Please call 646-260-9148. Erica Smith, certified sexual health consultant and intimacy coach for pure romance. Please visit www.prbyladye.com. Terrence Martin, owner of Martin Custom Trailers and Repair. Call 404-781-8437. Arlene B. Corley, inspirational speaker and host of the Path podcast. Visit www.arlenebolden.com. Oh,
I love those shout-outs.
I know, right?
My tool,
Wonderful.
Come on now. Come on now.
Look at her.
Very cool. Very
They
cool.
redeemed themselves after last week. I forgave them.
I came right in this week.
Yeah, you can look. Yeah.
Today's price ain't yesterday's prices, baby.
There you go.
Hey, I noticed somebody missing, so maybe that was the culprit.
Right.
I see him in the comments though.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Evelyn.
Evelyn.
Thank you. Continuing from prior to the break, we were talking about why people go back to certain places where they've been hurt and why they don't go back to other places where they've been hurt, and that a primary reason is what they get from that thing versus what they don't get from other places. And when we talk about church hurt specifically, one of the reasons that people stay away from church and stay away from all things connected to church, even the forgiveness point, is that when they are abused, when they are molested, when they are sexually abused by people in leadership in these religious spaces, they're also told that God approves what happened, that this is God's will, that this is what God would condone to happen. And that is a part of why church hurt isn't just about people. It's about what they've been told God expects, what they've been told God believes, what he condones, what he wants to happen for them, even if that thing is extremely hurtful. So now they're battling with this thing. I'm supposed to put my faith in this God who's supposed to love me, and he wants me to be abused. He wants me to be hurt. He wants me to be run over like this. I can't reconcile those two things. And we say that an easy solution to that is that person having a relationship with God apart from their connection to the church. But a lot of people don't quite understand that when the church hurt is from a leader told that God wants them to be that way or endure those things when they are too young to recognize that difference. And Ernest, while we still have you here, I would like to ask you a question specifically regarding forgiving God. How do you introduce the concept to people who... Okay, let me restructure that question. In many conventional Christian spaces, the idea that coming to God with anything but thanksgiving is a sin, people won't even admit that they're angry at God. People won't even admit that they don't like one of the choices that he made because, you're not supposed to question God. If you question God, lightning's going to strike, open the ground and swallow you up. So how do you introduce the notion that there have been instances your feelings are real, that you might need to forgive God? How do you introduce that to them?
Well, first of all, I'll say just like I just said a few minutes ago, it starts with you, right? So let me start with me and my relationship, because that goes back to relationship too, right? My relationship with God. But then on the other part of the other side of that is if you are a Christian, so I can only speak from Christian because I've only read the Bible, right? But if you are a Christian and you're following the Christian principles, Jesus was the first example, right? The main example that we follow as the perfect Christian, if you want to say that. But there was a time when Jesus was on the cross, he said, "Why have you forsaken me?" In other words, he asked God, like, what I do? Why you doing me like this? You know what I'm saying? So is it wrong to question God when you're sitting that you're having a conversation? If we go back further into the talk about the life of Job, and Job was like, what I do? Because if you remember when the book of Job starts, it starts with the devil looking for somebody who that they can, he can test. And God volunteered Job. Job wasn't even in the conversation. God was like, yo, my man Job, he gonna what they say, stand on business. Right. Yes. Like my man Job gonna stand on business. And so from Job's eyes, it's like, God, what did I do wrong? But God still allowed him to be tested because if I can say it this way, God had faith in Job. You know what I'm saying? So if you are going through certain things, there is a reason. I believe, and I believe this too. And if you're a Christian, I've been really on this kick a lot lately, is really being able to understand when we say all things work for our good, it means all things. If we really have faith that that's true, right? So I don't know why this just been in my space a lot lately, but I even talk about my journey and everything that I'm doing now came as a result of my getting a divorce, me going through the divorce. And it has nothing to do with my ex-wife, but it just put me on a different trajectory, right? Which has led me to where I am now. Like everything that I've done in the last 3 years, this is only like 3 years. Everything that I've done in the last 3 years have got me here, but it all was a result of my divorce. So if I say, well, God, I'm mad at you because you allow all these bad things to happen to me, even when some of the things have been my own decisions that I placed my own self in, then I can hold a grudge against God and say, oh no, God, you did me wrong. But if I really believe in my faith that whatever God allows me to go through or puts me through, however you want to look at it, that is going to work out for my good, then I relieve myself from that. And I can say, all right, God, what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to get out of this? What am I supposed to do with this hurt that I've experienced? Because I believe there's a reason why you allowed me to experience it. And one of the things that I also talk about is collateral damage. Some things you go through, it may not necessarily be for you. You just happen to be collateral damage of it, right? And so I give my own testimony of when my mom passed away. When my mom passed away, before my mom passed away, my mother-in-law at the time had passed away first, and then my mom passed away. They both passed away from cancer. And so from that experience and me going into bereavement support for myself, I realized how much it played, how much it helped me. So I started a nonprofit organization bringing bereavement support to our community, right? So out of my mom passing, I got that revelation. I got that mission. I got that purpose. Well, I got 8 sisters and brothers. They didn't get that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All they got was the pain and the hurt. You know what I mean? So maybe my mom had to pass away because God had a purpose for me to fulfill. And unfortunately, they just happen to be related to me. So you get the same hurt, but you don't get the same passion. You don't get the same purpose. And so sometimes we just have that collateral damage and we just like, sorry, you here for the ride. And going back to Job, he lost his kids. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't nothing they did, but they were just collateral damage because they happened to be connected to the person with the purpose. You know what I mean? And so I just think when we look at that, if we want to say, God, why have you forsaken me? But if we really have faith in what we say we believe as Christians, again, I can only speak from a Christian point of view, that all things work for our good because we love God, then I know, this is uncomfortable for me right now, but there's a reason why I'm going through it. And that reason might be collateral damage. So it might not even have nothing to do with me. I'm just affected by it. Or it might be because he has a purpose for me to learn something and do something out of this pain that I'm going through now that serves a greater purpose for him.
Oh, you said a mouthful there. Romans 8:28, all things do work for you. And it's the same thing, Ernest. You know, you do go through and you ask God, like, what did I do to you? I was Joe Better in my season when I got divorced. I was Joe Better. You took it. I was like, you took everything from me, like car, marriage, house, job, you know what I'm saying, for 3 years. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And you do, and that whole beginning, as I talk about in my book, that was the purpose. Because if I had not don't grab me, I don't like what my ex-husband did. But if he had not done that, I wouldn't be sitting here with you all today. I wouldn't be where I am in my walk in the business era. I wouldn't be anywhere. So once I became mature, once me and God had to when I rediscovered my relationship with God, and I understood. And of course, the first 3 years, I was mad at God. I was like, I ain't praying for no, I ain't going to church. I started going to church. My pastor called me. I said, listen, I love you, Jeff. You my big brother. We've been rolling forever. I said, but if y'all
don't call me no more.
They'll tell you, Jeff, from the mailroom, from the listening party. I said, but I'm done. I'm done with Jesus. I'm done with the whole guy. I've been a God's girl since birth. I've been I don't want to pray. I ain't right now, me and God, I don't like him. And that was, but I was allowed in that space because I had mature Christians around me who did not judge, who understood that this was a safe space. So nobody said, girl, you know better. You can't say that to God, because everybody around me was already on a different level. So they allowed me in that space, and they became my prayer warriors. And that's why I take prayer to this day to heart. I don't play with prayer. I'm an intercessor. I am a prayer warrior, because there are going to be some times where you do doubt in your faith walk. When you do doubt God and you're like, okay, I know you're still good. I know you're good, but I ain't understanding all this. And then when he took my mom, oh my gosh, I was like, what? We gonna do this again? Like, really? Like, me and Jesus be having these talks. I'd be like, listen now. So what we doing today? Like, I'm like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be like, what you got? And even now on this faith, I am on a mustard seed faith walk. But I know, as you said, Ernest, there is purpose out of all of this. I got 4 other brothers and sisters. They cool, they good. We all have our different grief stages. But I'm like, okay, God, we're all entrepreneurs. And so you just gonna choose me right now? Like, you just gonna have me? And like, what is going on? But the more I talk with him, the more I, begin, and the more I forgive. Because there have been some times I'm just like, yo, I can't. I'm tired of forgiving. I'm tired of trying to be the good person. But as someone said earlier, it's not that you're weak. It is something that you have to do. That on this journey. And it's just for me personally. I can only speak for me. It's part of my journey. And it keeps me going. So.
Amen.
Can you honestly pray to God to help you forgive someone else if you haven't forgiven him?
You said what? I'm sorry.
Not you specifically, but just you in general.
What a question, girl.
Can a person honestly pray to God to help them forgive someone else if they themselves have not forgiven God? Like, you have, for example, an abuse situation. And I hate that abuse situations are so common in church that everybody understands what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
If you have, say, a young woman who has been molested by a pastor, and he's told her that this is what God wants because he is the man of God. He has needs that his wife can't fulfill for some reason. So now she has been blessed by God to take on that role and help him as a servant and all of this kind of stuff that you think you can excuse sin. You have nothing on a lot of pastors. They can use the Bible to justify sin like nobody. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have this young woman who's been molested this way, sexually abused by a pastor, told that that's what God wants, can she actually honestly pray to God to help her forgive that pastor if she does not or has not forgiven God for allowing that to happen to her?
And the answer is yes. And the reason why I say that is because the women, remember I talked about the women I had on my podcast, and two of those women were molested by their pastors. And they are, and one of, oh my gosh, that story is so phenomenal. And one of the pastors, he was living a double life. He was gay and bisexual and married and abusive to the women in the church. And a similar question like yours came up about that. Like, how can you forgive? How could you still have a relationship with God and all of this happen in your life and whatnot? And I remember her saying that it was definitely not easy for her. And she had to go through, again, use the therapy and all of that. But she had to really understand that it wasn't God. It was that man,
Wait, you
And
said Christians get therapy? Did you say
oh, yeah.
Christians get therapy?
Oh yeah. Hello. I'm number because and I have a faith-based therapist. And there are when I this is the part we love to say, and I say we as a general, that it was a stigma that you just pray to God and he's gonna, but this is what people don't understand about God. God uses people as resources. He created Christian-based, faith-based therapists. Why do y'all think he allowed? There are faith-based doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, all of this. You don't have to go around and say, "Oh, I'm faith-based. I'm faith-based," because your actions are going to speak louder than words. You're going to use those principles, and whatnot. But yes, Christians, we need it. We really do need it. I tell people, yes, I have a faith-based therapist. I love it because when I'm able to go and it all connects, with what I'm going through because again, that is that stigma. Yes, Christians, listen, Christians, y'all can keep praying by yourself if you want to, which is good because it doesn't mean that it's going to be a lifetime situation. And it doesn't mean that it's always something bad. Sometimes you just need, like, okay, I'm not sure what I'm doing or is this right? So yeah, I listen.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always tell people you can't pray everything away, right?
Exactly.
You can't pray everything away, and then there are even the Bible says first natural, then spiritual, right? And also it says faith without works, right? So just to make it simple, if you're a diabetic and you're not supposed to be having sugar, you can pray all day. But if you keep on having that sugar, what's that's going to do? Where's your works behind your faith?
Yeah.
Right. So your faith is, God, I want you to heal me, but you can't keep doing contrary to the healing and expect it to work. There is some work that you must do as a natural person. And I think that's where our biggest thing is. We expect even God, because it's like, well, God, you're spiritual, so you should be able to do everything. And we take the responsibility of ourselves as being natural men and women. There is a job, there is a part in everything that we have to play for ourselves and our being. So we can't expect God to just do everything. And I think that's a big thing in the church too, that leads to church hurt and everything, that we expect God to do all the work. God, I'm just gonna pray and God is gonna make it happen.
And I'm gonna sit back and sip on my cognac while he do all the work, and I ain't gonna do nothing.
Right.
You be like, Jesus ain't dumb now. You be like, don't take God for granted now. He ain't stupid. He ain't weak.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, don't use me. Don't pray when things going bad and you've been out here doing everything under the sun. And that's part of that relationship. People do think they be like, oh, I could just pray and it's gonna be, and then they do get mad when it doesn't happen. It's like, no, here's the thing. The same type of relationship that you have with your friends and your family, God wants it too. It's like, talk to me too. Don't just come to me when you need some money, or you need a bill paid, or you need Pookie to act right or whatnot. You got to have that relationship. He wanted the same relationship too. And he will work on your behalf. But you can't use me like, Sally around the block. You can't do that to me. God ain't weak. He ain't no.
Yeah. And
that's
very
true.
Tashon, you know that the biggest problem that we have with working with people is people don't want to do the work.
They don't want to do the work.
They want to go to their therapist. They want to go to their pastor. They want to go to their boss. They want everybody to fix their problems without changing them. It's like, if you don't change you, even if I fix everything and wipe the slate clean, if you show up as the same person doing the same thing, you're going to recreate everything that you've just been healed from. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to do the work on yourself to say, okay, what part of this, again, going back to self, what part of this do I need to change to make sure that this healing, even if I receive the healing miraculously, what do I need to do to change so that I can stay in this space and not recreate the havoc all over again? You know, and so that's like the biggest hurdle that in ministry we have to face, as bosses we have to face,
communicate.
People don't want to do the work. They want you to do all the work, and then they just reap the benefits of it.
And get mad with you when they don't get the results. You're like, that's why I stopped. I weaned away from coaching women in a sense, because it's like that accountability piece. Nobody wants to do the work. I can't tell you. You can get a man. Everybody can get every woman can get a man. Every man can get a. What'd you say?
That's another show, baby. That's another show.
Look, every man can get a woman, but there's some things that you got to do to put in place, and that's why I tell people I can't tell you how to get a man, because when I'm trying to show you the steps, I wrote a journal about it. You don't want to read the first page. You really want me to tell you how to get a man. And when I tell you that you got to change your attitude, then you get an attitude with me, and then there you go.
Right.
Listen, I ain't about to argue with you. I'm 52. I'm not about to argue with you. Not this. I ain't got time. Dude, I'm trying to keep my own relationship together. You think I got time to argue with you about trying to get a man and you don't want to do the work? If I say you got to take the rollers out your head every day and fit yourself up, I shouldn't have to do all that. Well, then what you want? What you want? Get your stinking behind in there and groom yourself. Get in that bathtub. Put some perfume on. Put something on. But you want to sit here and argue with me? I refuse. And I actually I refuse. I refuse. And I think that sometimes God is like that with us. So I refuse to go back and forth with y'all. Really? I didn't forgive and be done. I let me do the rest of it. I got them. You just do what I need you to do. I believe that's how God be feeling looking at it. His angels, I really do. I believe they be drinking and be like, you know what, dude? I can't deal with that one. Assignment to somebody else. Because that one right there, no.
Yeah, I've seen memes that joke about guardian angels getting ready to be fired because their person is misbehaving so poorly.
I can imagine. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, when you think about the people around here, we just be doing some foolish stuff. What we ain't gonna do, and this and another. I know his people, his angels be like, nope, not today. Put me on another assignment. I'd rather go on over to the atheist side. Put me on the other side.
Mercy.
I deal with them. Right
I definitely agree with that. One of my favorite movies of all times is It's a Wonderful Life, and I watch it every year around Christmas time. And even at the angel there, he was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what I'm supposed to do with this dude?
Right.
You know what I mean? He want to jump in front of cars and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, how am I supposed to say this dude? You know what I mean? But yeah, I know that's why we having that conversation. And then going back to what we said, questioning God. Even the angels got questions like, Lord, what?
Right. Why me? Do I really want these wings this bad? You know, it's like, wow. Yeah. So the comments are jumping off, y'all. Keisha said people aren't being honest with themselves. They don't want to do the work. They think it's everybody else but them. That's true. It. I mean, that literally.
That is fact.
That is fact.
blaming everybody but themselves. Look in the
Yeah,
mirror.
they don't want to take So listen, we got to take a quick commercial break. Hold on just a moment, y'all. I like this. Look at that. Look at here. Hold on, y'all. Hold on.
Kimberly Lewis, owner of Chemistry Treats. Visit her IG at KIMISTRTY_treats. Toki Miller, 50 State Mortgage Loan Officer and owner of Lavish Living LLC. You can reach her at 504-564-4142. Janice Daniel, an esthetician and the owner of The Plush Lab. Visit www.theplushlab.com. Dr. Gina Crawford, owner of The Power Experience Ministry Consulting. Visit www.iscministries633.com. Yeah, price went up. Price went up. Price went up.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Very nice.
Price going up after today, baby.
As we're moving in the discussion of forgiveness again, I like the point that you made earlier, Tashon, about that it is possible for a person to pray to God genuinely, asking God to help them forgive somebody else when they haven't yet forgiven God. That's an anchor. That's a foundational premise for some people who have been hurt through various means, but specifically we're dealing with the church as it connects. And all of that just goes back to what we were saying earlier. For many people, the aspect of forgiveness has its root in a religion. It has its root in a Christian type practice. And for those who may not be in that space, it could be a little bit more difficult for them. And even if they're not religious per se, God still may be a factor in what they believe and how they carry themselves. And that question can reach over their experience as well. And the point that you made said it takes a lot of work.
It definitely does.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely it does. Absolutely.
I think that a lot of Christians and people of faith need to listen to or be in certain conversations of people that doesn't don't have a faith or don't follow Christianity or don't follow but I think that both sides will have a greater understanding of each other and of different ways of life, different ways of thinking, different perspective. Because I wanted to point out, I know that you said, Ernest, that and everybody here believe that forgiving the other person is not it doesn't stem from religion, and I believe it does, because we spent almost an hour talking about religion, and this is and I think that if everybody can sit together and have a conversation in the difference, we'll have an understanding, not so much a change of perspective, but I get it. I can see how, X, Y, and Z, or Z, Y, and X, I can understand, but to disregard different perspective. I used to throw the perspective of a Christian away. I used to, they not, it's not, no, they know what they're talking about. But, when I stopped that, when I got rid of that and started to really sit with Christians and talk with Christians and understand, their way of thinking and where they, how and where they get information from, you start to understand, different perspectives. And I think that's important. I think it's key to be in different rooms other than where you are, to get a different understanding. Because even in forgiveness, right, whoever did the hurt, it's theirs. It is my job, it is my duty to heal from it, to forgive myself. The hurt that they did is 100% theirs. It is, me forgiving them has nothing to do with me healing from it, me doing the work from it. It has nothing, it's theirs. what we have to do in Evelyn's, what Evelyn said last week, is we have to stop the wanting them to be hurt from it. You know what I'm saying? We don't like that. I don't think we should carry that. We should not carry that. That hurts us. And that what else hurts us is not healing from their hurt. We got to do our work from the trauma and hurt that caused. But the thing that they did is theirs for them to handle. It's theirs for them to reap. It's theirs for them. It ain't for me to. It's unfair for the person to carry that as well. I'm not going to carry that. It doesn't make sense. This is why I said that you have to be in other rooms to understand. You know what I'm saying? And like not just to come from a religious point, but you have to understand it is very difficult for an average person to forgive the man that raped their 7-year-old daughter. Like that. How can that compute? How can that doesn't happen? That's not a regular thing. That it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And another thing is what's hurting religion of people of faith is that we're seeing the person that confide in Jesus, the person that loves, cherishes, believes in Jesus Christ, get the worst happen to them. We're seeing this every day. I can't believe they didn't kill Mama Jane in the house. She go to church every Sunday. She pay a tithe. I can't believe that happened to Johnny, man. He's a happy father. He take care of his kids and they didn't kill that man. He in church, him and his kids every Sunday. Like we're seeing this. The foulest things are being done to those that follow Christ. So I'm just saying, if I implore Christians to sit amongst other people to get different perspectives, not to change your perspective. I'm not saying for you to change what you believe, but to get a grander understanding as to why other people think the way they think, the way, where they, get their perspective from. I can learn anything from anybody, even the opposition. Listen, I don't shut nobody down. I can learn something from a 5-year-old and an 85-year-old. You know what I'm saying? I can learn something from someone who believes in Christ, someone who believes in Allah, Muslim or Buddhist. But we can sit down. For me to shun you out, it's not God-like.
I mean, and you make a good point. And to your point, the mature Christian is going to do that or is doing that.
Yeah, right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Because again, religion, we know that's a whole nother entity. When I took world religion in college, I learned so much, and I'm devout Christian, and I love learning about other religions. However, that's
me too.
We know that religion is religion,
right?
But when you come into Christianity, it is a faith, right? And there's a relationship. And so as you mature in Christ, as you mature in His Word, you have an open understanding. You understand that God's teachings, it's just so happened that we follow God's word, the Bible, just like Muslims follow Quran. You're not coming in there and infiltrate. You're going to do what they, you're going to follow.
Absolutely.
And so I think because of the stigma that we have on Christianity and Christians, because again, you have those people who straddle, as we call it, straddle the fence. You're trying to live in the world and be in the world. And so you're confusing people. And that's why my daily walk is actually a walk in a walk where it's like, I'm not just talking, I'm actually living it and talking and walking it, because you do have people looking at you and you do have people saying, oh, well, I thought she was a Christian.
Absolutely.
And so I don't, because I'm mature and it's a constant, like I'm not there. My 92-year-old aunt would tell you she's still learning. She will learn until the day she died. And so, when you get to those levels, you do open the door to have conversation, with other people so they can understand. Because you're right. There was a one point in time, I'm like, Jesus, you said for us to do this, that, and other. How is it that your people are going through suffering and this, that, and
the worst, right?
And he tells you in the word that this was not a rose petal and tutus and rainbows journey.
That's
you
right.
see what I'm saying? He made that very clear. It's just that other people haven't studied his word.
Right.
The true Christians understand I'm suffering now. And my question is be like, Jesus, you see all these other folks who doing X, Y, and Z? Do you not see them acting a fool on Instagram and getting money and paid? And I'm up here trying to do what you ask. But because I have a deeper relationship and a deeper understanding, I know where my reward is coming from. And I know, as Ernest said, all things are working for the good. You understand what I'm saying? So that is that maturity level, that conversation, when you get with and this is why, again, I go back to saying, get into a Bible-based ministry, a Bible-based Bible study, because, and I'm so blessed to be part of that, because we learn the Bible and we apply it to our everyday life. You understand what I'm saying? So people always say, oh, the Bible was back in biblical days. Well, we're living in biblical days. It's just that we're in this time. We're in 2024. Joe better, like Ernest said, Joe better. I was Joe better.
Yeah, I tell people all the time. I tell people
about Jonah, because Jonah got, like, when you apply, like, that was my nickname during that era for 3 years.
Yeah.
So when the conversations, I always open. I love talking to other people because it is a different perspective. Because you do have my brothers. I have two brothers who are like, they question God I have one brother who's an atheist. Me and Chef, he doesn't understand my faith, but he knows when he got with me, my faith, I am listening, and he trusts me enough to know that whomever I'm believing in is for the best of both of us, because he does have questions. He was church hurt, so his whole thing, you gone with that guy. One time he was like, oh, you and your God? I said, yes, me and my God. What now? What? My God, how about that? But instead of me coming down on my family members or whatever, I open the conversation and I have that conversation. It's like, tell me, let me know, because I believe, this is just me, I believe everybody on this earth wants the same thing. It's that peace. It's that love. It's that moving forward. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to take us different avenues, different roads to get to there, because when I do talk to the average person, they just want to be happy. They want to live a peaceful life or whatever. And we do have those different avenues. So you're right. I think it is, imperative that we do listen to each other and not try to, but your mature Christian faith walker is going to do that.
It requires you. I think a mature Christian knows that requirement for you to listen to other people. It's a requirement. It is definitely a requirement. It's in the Bible. And I think that the Bible, we're living the Bible today. I tell people all the time, man, listen, the Bible is an incredible, read the Bible. You know what I mean? I tell a Christian to read the Bible. Read the Bible. It is it is some great inspiring stories there. There is some stories that you can relate to. There's some hurt that you can relate to. There is some pain in there that you can relate to. Read the Bible. I tell a Christian, read the Bible. Read the Bible.
Even flipped over tables. He wasn't no punk.
Exactly.
Like Ernest said, he was up on the cross. Do you think he was like, yo,
exactly,
all these people, you want me to die? Like, literally, when you ask people, how many would you sacrifice your own child to put up on the cross? None of us. He like, wait a minute. These Negroes or whomever crucified me. You want me to what? Like, he done flipped over tables. You right here in my face doing dirt. You want to eat with me? You want to sit hit the homeboy? Sitting right next to him at the dinner table.
Right. Really? And then Tashon, at the very end, some of his last words was, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So even after being hurt, even after being beaten, even after being sacrificed, at the end, he said, you know what? Still forgive them. They don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I love what you guys were saying, Tashon. One of the things I'm grateful that you said is the mature Christian, because that there's so many people that carry that flag that say I'm a Christian. You know, they carry the flag, they wear the t-shirts, they get the free t-shirts. You know what I'm saying? But then when they're like, okay, are you really? Are you a mature? And I always say, are you a practicing Christian?
Yeah, come on now.
You know,
oh my goodness.
We all want to be like, I'm a Christian. Okay, but are you practicing Christian? Are you really trying to live this thing out? Or are
you just pressing buttons? You just now pressing buttons.
You joined the club. Right. You take membership class. You know what I mean?
So you about to get DM'd,
that's a big part of it.
They about to email you, Ernest. They about to hit you up, Ernest.
You know, are you really living?
That's right.
What you said that you are. Are you really being a representation of what you said?
That's
and then
right.
Going back to something that you said earlier, when as far as people trying to look at forgiveness and take it away from the church, you know, like separated from the church. And even though it is a separation, the reason why a lot of us have problems with it because we always associate it with church. Well, there's a reason for that. Because in our lives, our moral compass was on foundations that was built off Christian values, religion. Even the United States of America was started with, like, we all would learn the 10 Commandments when we were little. Those are Christian principles of morality that we learned to live off of. Whether we're Christians or not, everybody know the golden rule, right? So you can separate it, but I think that's where the people have problems with it because they try to separate it but you can't separate it if that's where your moral base was built off of, the foundation of the principles. We're not even talking about Christianity and going to church, whatever, but just the foundational principles of being a moral person is I don't do these things, I don't hurt others, and you know what I'm saying, and I forgive. That's just part of our moral compass. So if we know that, if we don't recognize that as a moral human being, that this is a good value to have, and we only associate it with church, then it's easy for us to hold a grudge, not only against the church, but against everything, because it's like, oh, that's for them over there. Like, no, but if it's part of your moral reality of who you are, then it's easier for you to accept it and walk it, whether you're in church or not, you know? And then another thing, what you mentioned about Johnny, is us having this false narrative that just because we are a believer, that we're exempt from the trials of life. That's not true. And again, if we are a practicing Christian and we're a mature Christian, then we've read that Bible and we know that it says there's nothing new under the sun, right? So there's nothing new under the sun. It just keep rotating, you know. And like Tashon said earlier, we're living in biblical days. The timing may have changed, some of the elements may have changed, but pretty much we're doing the same thing over and over again. You know what I'm saying? And so knowing that, okay, just because I'm a Christian, I'm still, again, going back to that human part, I'm still a man. So I'm still going and I'm still have to deal with other men. So yes, Mama Brown may have got shot, you know, and she went to church every day. But Johnny up the street got shot and he never went to church. But he's still human, she's still human, and they still probably live in the same neighborhood. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unfortunately, so they have to deal with them same circumstances. So just because we're Christians does not exempt us from the trials of life, from the same experiences as everyone else. And we just talking about from the human part of being humanity. So whether you're an atheist, I have atheists that work with me on my job. I'm a bricklayer. We on the same job site. So if a brick falls and hit either one of us, we still dealing with the same hurt from that brick falling. It didn't get softer for me because I'm a Christian. You know what I'm saying? It didn't turn into a sponge on the way down and just go. You know, if it falls, we both gonna get hurt. Because that has nothing to do with our faith or who we believe in. It's just the fact that we are natural human beings living in this earth and having a human experience. And just because I'm a Christian or I'm Buddhist or I'm atheist or whatever, does not exempt me from the trials of life. Right. That's just across the board. So we are dealing with the same grief. We are dealing with the same, you know, situations, and we have to realize that. And so when we start trying to label it and putting things in boxes, like you can say you dealing with this because, you know, I'm not going to church because, you know, that wasn't right, or I'm still going through this. Well, if you go to church and if you don't go to church, you're still gonna deal with it.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know,
I think I saw a
And
documentary where there is a Mormon girl. Mormon, the Mormons were those are the ones who don't have technology and so forth, right? Mormons
those
Oh
who
are
no,
Amish
no,
people.
Amish,
Those
Amish,
are
Amish,
Amish
Amish,
yes.
people. Yes.
Amish, and she had her and her sisters were raped and molested by the Amish. I don't know what their leaders are called and so forth, and they had to escape and whatnot. So it happens. I think anybody, people who abuse abuse their position
Mm-hmm.
and and especially use religion under it or their power, that's what we have to address. And we can't associate, because I'm pretty sure not all Amish leaders did that or whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we have to separate those. I think Evelyn, you talked about that before. We have to separate that from this. It's just unfortunate that people are using their positions. It's the same way with teachers. That's why when I hear teachers, sexual abusing or doing
Mm-hmm.
anything to children, it and that's something I have to ask God to, because that I don't, when it comes to abusive anything to do with children, I already told God I ain't there to forgive yet. I want to torture. You know what I'm saying? I want to bring them with me, put them in a room. I don't want to kill them, but I want to torture them. That's something that I constantly have a chat with, because I've known some abusive parents who abuse their children or whatnot. I know some teachers who went that path. You understand what I'm saying? So it
Mm-hmm.
just, whatever profession we in, we have to understand that that is that person and not the spirit of God. Because God gives us free will. He gives us free will. We take it and misuse it, and then we want to blame. Because people, well, teacher, that's why I wouldn't leave my child with the teacher. I wouldn't leave my child with the preacher. I wouldn't leave my child with, it's always going to be that person that represent who they're supposed to be. And we have to understand that sometimes a lot of ministers are called and they are good, but they lose their way because they let the world in, or they don't study the word. And then God has to remove them. And they're going to, at the end of my day, I know that vengeance is not mine. And I know that they're going to suffer. It's not going to be on my watch. It's not going to be on my timing. I can't sit here and wait for the bad to happen. I used to be like that. I used to be like, God, strike them down. If people know, the people who know me, my part of my anger, if somebody did me wrong or did something, I'd be like, Jesus, strike them right now. I'm waiting for you. And I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting. I'd be like, it's a whole month and they still walking around. What's going on, God? What's going on? It's a whole year later. I strike. What is going down? When are you going to strike them down? But I had to
Yeah.
repent and ask God for forgiveness on that. And vengeance is not mine. So when people, and I get it, I've been hurt. I've been hurt. But when I tell you that forgiveness, the power of forgiveness has released me. I don't carry what they did to me. I don't. Is gone. It's in that seat of forgiveness, because I know the power of it. It's just the power of forgiveness is just amazing.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Ernest. So if you moved on, you gave the other person, you moved on, years and years and years, and uh something happened. Say 10 years. Say Tashon forgave the ex-husband, did her work or whatever, but something happened to where she react the same way she did back then. Did she truly forgave him, or what do you call that?
Well, there's a process of healing that you go through too with your forgiveness. And again, when we talk about forgiving somebody but not forgetting what that person done to you, that's a part of the healing, to actually really be able to forgive that person. And like we said last week, when you're faced with those kind of situations, that's a gauge for let you know where you stand in your forgiveness. Because if you can't be around that person, see that person, hear that person, or something happens and you don't react negatively, or you do react negatively, that lets you know where you stand in your forgiveness. If I look at someone who did me wrong that I said I forgave, but I'm still wishing that something bad happened to them, then I haven't fully forgiven them.
Yeah, no,
right?
you're not wishing them. No, you're not wishing them. You responded or reacted in the way that you did back then, 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, but that's
So
the
what
same
are
thing. Yeah,
is that forgiveness or what did you call that?
I mean there's a part of you that haven't truly forgiven yet, that haven't all the way forgiven
Okay.
yet, because you're
Okay.
still reacting the same. And then maybe it is that you've forgiven that person, but you haven't healed where you've started to fix your own reactions to those things. Because when someone hurts us, there is a change in us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about boundaries. There are some boundaries that we put up. There are some things that we do, to say, okay, I'm not letting nobody else in. Somebody broke my heart, so I'm not falling in love again. So yeah, you might forgive that person, and move on to other relationships. But now you're cold in these new relationships that you're having, because now you've done something to yourself that's separating you from the love that you said that you want. You know what I mean? So then that has nothing to do with them. Now that's all on you. So now you have to do the internal work of like, all right, let me really address how I'm reacting, how I'm feeling, how I'm carrying myself in these new relationships. That's a result of hurt that I've had in the past. So now I have to work on me. Let me fix my heart so that I can receive love in a new way. That has nothing to do with the other person. They gone already. You already forgiven them. They already moved on. You moved on to new relationships. But if you're still carrying the blockages from that old hurt, that's
So you haven't
something.
forgiven them.
And yeah, and you might have forgiven them. Now I said, I don't think it has nothing to do with them. It's that you allowed that situation to change you. So now you have to deal with you. You might have already forgiven that person.
That's a bit confusing.
And that's why we
We're
talk
gonna come
about
back to that.
forgiveness is for you to let go of what that person did. Right. So now I forgave them. I've let them go, but I still got to deal with me. Right. So I still got to deal with the hurt of it, or the response to it that I'm carrying with myself. I still have to forgive that. Right. So even Tashon talked about someone being abused. There are people that was molested when they were children, and now they're adults. And even though they have no connection with that person and don't see that person, probably haven't seen that person since they were children, that trauma of that still affects the relationships that they're having today. But that ain't got nothing to do with that person that did that. It has to do with how you're carrying and how you're healing yourself today. So there's a healing that you must go to deal with the things that happen in your life. And once you heal from that, then you can move forward personally to move forward. But that don't have nothing to do with forgiving the person that did it. It just means that there was some residue that was left on you that you gotta wash off. You gotta do what you need to do to heal yourself.
Right. Hold that thought. Our last commercial break.
Chelsea Speaks, owner of Women Are Dope. Visit www.womenaredope.com. Latressa A. Crawford, executive life coach and speaker. Visit her IG at _real_Latressa. Trinette L. Collier Green, owner of TLC Coaching, certified relationship coach. Visit her at www.IamTrinetteLCollier.com.
Listen here. I
have a thought that I would like to add to the last part of the discussion. Have you honestly forgiven someone if your response to them at a later time is the same as what it would have been in the initial stages of forgiveness? Ernest made a great point that there may be some work that you still have to do. If you are still responding in the same way, it may mean that, yes, you've accomplished some aspect of forgiveness, but it hasn't manifested to the full extent of what it could be. What I'd like to add to that is that can also appear as unforgiveness when the root of the response really could stem from something else. Perfect case on that point. Let's say, oh my God, why is abuse such a common topic, but people understand it? So yes, let's go carefully with there. Let's say that you are a person who has been abused by somebody in your family. you're always going to see that person at the family gatherings. And let's say also that you have forgiven them. Let's say that you said, okay, what you did to me was wrong. People knew about it. They didn't care. I can't deal with any of that for my own personal growth and moving beyond this. I have to let all of that go. I have to release myself from seeing all of them punished for you hurting me, them knowing that you didn't do anything. I'm at the place where I've released myself from seeing them be punished and you for all of that. But here's what happens. 5 years later, 6, 7, 8 years later, we're at the family gathering. And now that person who has been forgiven is acting up in a different way. Let's say that it was a young woman who was molested and abused by a friend of the family, uncle, whoever. That person is still at the family functions. So while that abuser may not be physically employing those same methods of abuse, they're still angling at that person and still needling them and doing certain things that generate anger from a different place. Even if this older relative is not putting his hands on her and molesting her again, he's more in her business than he should be. Why are you single? Why haven't you gotten married? What are you doing? What is this? What is that? He's still doing things that wouldn't be right, whether or not he had ever touched her. So when she responds in anger to those things, people can accuse her of not forgiving him because of their knowledge of the past. And I don't think those two things are the same. The response she had looked the same because people understand that, yes, this person did all these bad things. She said that she forgave them, but now he's saying all this and saying all that. And she popped off just like she did when it first came out that it happened. So no, she didn't forgive them. No, that isn't the same situation. She has forgiven. In most cases we're dealing with, for this example, there has been forgiveness. There is forgiveness of the abuser, of the enablers, and she is in a place to move on. That will never prevent that abuser from creating a different crime against her, from doing something else, trespassing against her personhood, that she can have a legitimate reaction for and not be accused of being unforgiving.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I agree with you for that, and I think that goes back to one of the things and one of the other misconceptions about forgiveness that we talked about before, which means even if you forgive this person, you still got to be around them, right? You still got to deal with them. That's where the boundaries come in, because now I know you. I know what you do. I know your mindset. I know how you react. I know the kind of person that you are. So even though I've forgiven you, I'm going to put these boundaries in place to safeguard me from you. So yes, I forgive you, and yes, I'm still gonna show up at the family function. But no, we're not having a conversation. You're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wait from a distance. I don't need to talk to you. You definitely don't need to be an arm reach of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the boundaries that I put in place to save myself or protect myself from you. So yes, I've forgiven you, but I'm not going to allow you to hurt me again. I'm not going to put myself in a position for you to hurt me, maybe in a different way. But I'm going to protect myself from that. So that's where those boundaries come in. So that's a misconception that just because you forgive someone, you give them full access back to you. No, you forgive them, but you deny access in certain ways, certain situations, because you have to protect yourself from being hurt again. And so that's that part of forgiveness that, one of them that people misunderstand. Like, yeah, I forgive you, but stay over there. What I mean? I forgive you, what I'm saying? Go do you. I don't wish no harm on you. Be happy over there. Just you can't come back over this way no more.
Evelyn, in your opinion, what how do you know that you've forgiven somebody?
In my opinion, one of the ways that you know that you've forgiven someone is that you don't look at them every time and see all of the vitriol and all of the anger and all of the hurt and all of the everything that you wanted them to suffer. That is not the first thing that comes to your mind when they cross your mind. It's a releasing yourself from the responsibility of seeing them punished. And when you've done that, you are, if not completely there, certainly on solid way in the path of forgiveness. if the person who, the example that we used last week and this week today also, if the person who molested your 7-year-old daughter is crossing the street and every car you see, you're not praying to speed up and run them down, you know that you're in the process of forgiving that person. And like Ernest was saying, that doesn't mean that you can let him babysit the baby girl. That's not where that goes. But it's just your personal experience with those emotions, that anger, that hatred. Even if what they did was wrong, everybody knows what they did was wrong. There's no question about it. There's no justification. I can't do anything personally to make them see that. And when I'm not willing to try anymore, that's another step in that forgiveness piece.
So do you feel you can forgive somebody and not heal from the situation?
Can you forgive someone and not heal from the situation? That's kind of hard. But if there are multiple aspects of the situation, yes, you can forgive and heal in that way. But the other issues you still need to deal with, like, oh goodness, here I go again with this abuse situation.
You have to. You have to give the extreme example because it has to make sense.
Yes. Okay. If there's a woman who's been abused, she may forgive her attacker and never deal with, the psychological response to what being abused actually happens. So yes, there is a way that you can forgive and not completely heal. You may forgive that person and heal in that way, in as much as you're not still carrying the burden of seeing them punished for what they did. But here, your issues with relating to other people are impacted. Your trust has been broken and you haven't rebuilt it yet. Those intimate relationships that had been impacted by what they did are still areas where you need to do the work, even if you forgive the person who has created this trespass against you. Another example on that, if someone is physically shot, they can say, I forgive you for shooting me. I'm healed from the emotional place of that. That doesn't mean that I don't need physical therapy to relearn how to walk. That doesn't mean that I don't have to do with the physical response of what has happened in this trespass. So it is absolutely possible that you can forgive someone still not completely healed.
Right. So healing and forgiving somebody is two totally different things.
Yes, they're closely related, but
no,
they are separate.
Remember, that's what I was saying when I forgave my ex-husband. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I forgave him. It's been 10 years or whatnot. But even though I was going through the healing, I healed from everything else in the process, he was still lingering because I hadn't totally forgiven him. And I wasn't finished because I didn't finish doing the work, which was that I had to do. There were some steps for me that I needed to take to completely heal from him. So I half stepped on the healing process. So I had to take accountability from me and say I half stepped because some people told me what to do, but because I was trying to be grown, I went on and did what I was doing. And then guess what? Years later, it was still lingering. My ex-husband was still lingering.
So 10 years later, if you forgave the person, you've forgiven them, and then 10 years later you have a similar response as you did back then, is that a trigger or that you honestly forgave him?
It was a combination because again,
this is my point. This is where it gets tricky. This is why I say forgiveness is there. Whatever the hurt that they conflicted is theirs. It is not my responsibility. And
it is your responsibility to use the resources, and that's why you're supposed to have a plan of action, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to trigger you.
Yeah, I get that. That's where the healing. That's where the healing part comes in. That, but my saying, but to say that it's part of the morale for me to forgive the other person, is which it has nothing to do, because it's not for me to carry that hurt, that pain that they inflicted on me. My responsibility is for me to heal from it, not to carry.
But you're not carrying the hurt, though. That's just it. When you're forgiving,
no, I'm carrying the forgiveness I have for the person. I'm carrying that.
but you're not.
I'm carrying that. That's the only way for me to not run him over is to have that, is to carry that forgiveness for him.
Now you
That's
can,
the only way
run
for
him
me.
over now.
Oh,
You can
okay,
run him
I see.
over. You
I see.
can, and this is that's part of that, the choice that you have. You can run him over. I had a choice. I could have,
Absolutely.
I could have been in Rice Street if I had made that choice not to forgive. And that's real talk. Like there's a choice. So I chose to forgive him and heal.
That you carry every day.
I could have carried that on and said, listen, I'm going to make him pay for what he did. So I'm going to make him suffer. I'm going to make sure that he feels the same pain that I do. You see what I'm saying? And so that is a choice. So you don't have to carry it. So what, for me, because I was trying to speed up my healing, I skipped some processes. I skipped some parts in my process and not really deal with it. So it came up in 10 years later or whatnot through the dreams or whatnot, because technically I did not forgive him all the way like I was supposed to. I didn't let it go. That's what it was. I was still holding on. That's why people say, oh, you can't forget. You can forgive and let it go. Of course, it's evident what he did. He has a whole child. But when I let it go off my shoulders, that's what I didn't do. So I had forgiven him, but I didn't let the situation go. And so that is what I was carrying. And that was what's weighing, that was what was the weight of me and on my shoulder, because I didn't let it go. I was still looking for that apology. I was still looking for him to be dealt with. And so I was carrying that. You see what I'm saying? So you can. So when you do see that person on the other side of the street, you can let it go. But you do have a choice. You can't take that chance and run them over. You see what I'm saying? And you can just have it justified in your own head. But we already know there may be a consequence of going to jail and then you doing all of this. So there is always a choice. And that's real talk, because you do have people out here that say, I don't care. Boom, boom. I'm going to blow his brains out, da, 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 whatever, because he did what he did to me and my child or whatever. You see what I'm saying? But we don't have those processes and those in place. That healing is essential. We got to get the proper healing. I ain't talking about the healing from your girlfriends or your homeboys or whatever. You got to get some proper healing, and this is what happened. So listen, y'all, we
part 3. What the hell?
I know. Like, God. I love y'all. Like, we be in these conversations. We're gonna end up having a part 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna have to come back and revisit it. And Jay, Ernest, you know that you're always because this is part of TMR. This is what we do. We coming up and we have these insightful dialogue, this culture conversation. And this is what I love about us. And then on top of that, we're all respectful of each other, y'all.
No doubt.
Respectful. That is what I love about my. Stop, Johnny, because there you go. Just when I was forgiving you.
Look at the fireworks, baby. Yeah.
Wait a minute, where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know, baby, but hey, I'm fireworked out, baby.
You know what? I can't stand you. Listen, real quick. Ernest, tell us what's going on coming up.
I have the forgiveness workshop. Basically, by the time we end this, we got about an hour grace period, and then the forgiveness workshop start. You still got time to register. We'll put the link back in the comments for you guys. Outside of that, I got a couple of speaking engagements coming up, and working on some things. Working on some projects that I'm working on. Mentorship, male mentorship program I'm putting together right now. Also a podcast club I'm putting together to do with one of the schools out here in Chicago. So a couple of little things going on. But definitely I am wide open to this speaking and workshop thing that I'm on now. So make sure you guys
no doubt.
Just email me at info@dealhealfulfill.org. That's dealhealfulfill.org. Because as you know, my mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. And so you can find anything else about me there.
Love it. Miss Evelyn Whitney.
I am continuing my Sensible Sunday series, which is a weekly Facebook post that encourages conventional wisdom consideration to help people make better decisions in the simple ways that lead into the bigger life changes that they're looking for. And I am available on Facebook at Evelyn Whitney Books, and Twitter and Instagram, eWhitney Books, and I have a YouTube channel.
Awesome.
All right.
DJ Johnny Prince.
Yes, follow me at the Be Clear Alert Podcast on YouTube. Be Clear Alert Podcast. Got some dope shows coming up, so make sure y'all stay tuned.
Listen, I love it. I love it.
What you got coming on? What you got going on?
Listen, follow all things relationship, all things the mail room on all platforms, the mail room 7671, and of course the 29 days of dancing. I don't have a video for either one, all three of y'all right here, including you, LaRon. I'm gonna need this. We on day 10. Last night I was a little ill, so I got to do 2 today. So y'all didn't see a video yesterday, but I need them. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
A dance, the 29 days of dancing that is going on for this month. Join us next week. We will have our girl Erica Smith on here. We're going to talk about we're going to get into this thing next week, so come back next week, same time, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like, listen, y'all, when I tell y'all TMR, man, I'm gonna need my fur coat, because we're doing this thing, y'all. We are doing this thing. Thank y'all so much. What'd you say?
Give me a top hat and a 3-piece with
There
the cane.
you go.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I love y'all so much. Thank y'all so much for joining us each and every Saturday. And to you all out there, thank y'all so much. Make sure you download that 101 TKO Radio app and follow us on YouTube. All right. Until next week, y'all. Peace.
Bye.
The mail room, I be tuned in. Listening to Tashon, she be going in. Y'all. Black queen for us black kings. We can learn a thing or two when we're locked in. One of the few places we can be heard. Facts, man, I rocks with her, that's my word. The show is enlightening, engagement always enticing. I'm always come with an open mind, I'm never frightened. Guaranteed to walk away with minerals. Now that I'm thinking everything else is minuscule. We're the fools who don't protect black women. No arguing, disrespect, and that's it. Please come in peace when you call in, cause our friends ain't no slouch, fair warning. The mail room, messages from him. Y'all better listen if you want to win. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay. Messages from him, tune in.